Good morning, guys. Going a little early this morning. I've got some things I need to get done, and so I am going a little early. So, great. So, everybody's having a good birth. Today, we're going to work on our bottles of eyeballs and poison. I said yesterday idea for what I wanted to do, and I did work on it last night. It's not quite what I thought it would be, but in thinking through things, I think I know how to make it look a little bit better. But these are two different bottles. So you can see here we have one that has eyeballs in it and one that has poison. So we're going to work on both. My idea was to take some white icing and thin it down and to paint it on so that you had this like thin layer that almost made your icing look cloudy. And I thought, oh, that would look like glass. Well, it does. It does look like glass, but it's like the glass behind your stuff. So it works well for the idea of the image of it's the glass behind all your stuff, but then you also have glass in front of your stuff. So if we're going for a realistic look, it does work, but I have to do an extra step on it here in a couple hours. So I will let you all know if that turns out right. So what I did, just to kind of just show you guys, I just took some icing and I just like squirted it into my thing. I would take, this is detail glaze. So I don't know if I would use detail glaze because it's got fat in it. So I just took regular glaze and just kind of squirted it on something. This is just a scribe, whatever, scraper. And then I took some water and I added just a little bit. You don't need a lot. And then I just took a paintbrush and I wonder if I can. Anyway, I just took this and I just kind of created, if you already have some really thin down icing, then you can definitely use that, but I don't normally have that. So just made like a paint kind of, and then I just went through and painted the shape of my bottle of eyeballs, or the bottle. I did both. I did one of the poison and one of the eyeballs. And you can always thin it down. I just kind of like tried to get it on here as quick as possible. And then I used my paintbrush to kind of smooth it in one direction. So as long as you're in the general shape of it, it worked. And I was okay, my icing, this is because of the detail glaze, but it's okay if it has these little like imperfections in it because it's old glass, right? It's like a witch's, in her apothecary. So anyway, so I just kind of did that. You can kind of see if those bigger chunks bother you, just take them out and then you can just smooth back over it. And you could definitely go over this a couple times if you wanted to really kind of give it a smoky. But I wanted to just kind of be able to see back behind there. Move my phone real quick. I wanted it to look like, like glass. So I did that to both of the bottles. And I like the way that, like, I was happy with, that's exactly what I wanted. So then I went in and I just outlined my voice today sounds very froggy. Very froggy this morning. I just went through and outlined my bottles with black. You could outline in whatever color you wanted to. If you wanted to use, if I could have done it with like a lighter purple or the light green. I just know I'm going to use all those colors in the eyeballs, hopefully. So I'm not too concerned with, I thought, if I use black, then I can use those other colors for eyeballs. So then I would pipe on the top. And then I did go ahead and pipe on the label. because we have this little label here that says eyeballs. So I covered up a lot of that area. Okay. And to make the top of this lid, I just used a bunch of lines. So I just kind of took my detail glaze and just went basically right next to each other and created some lines. You can kind of see it there. Just to kind of give it the texture of the top of the jar, like if it was like kind of textured so that you could grip it and open it. Okay. So I did that, finished that with all the way across, obviously. And then I took some white and I went ahead and filled in that label. And you could have used any other color. I'm just going to use white because it's just easy to read. Probably dirty it up also because we've been dirtying up anything that's white. We've kind of made it look not white. All right. And then you can work on the next bottle. And I did the same thing. I just kind of took some of that same liquefied glaze and painted it on and then outlined my bottle. And then I did something a little different. I kind of squirted a bunch of different colors into my bottle because I wanted it to look like a mix of stuff. And then I just took my toothpick and I swirled it around. Um, so I have that already done. So let's move that one. So this is what it looks like with all of that done. So I have the lid done. This is piped on. I have that background kind of painted. Same thing here. And here's the swirl. I just took like the lavender, the dark purple, and the light green and the dark green and just kind of swirled them all together to make it look like a potion. Um, because that is what, sorry, I just took my hand in a bunch of icing. So that is what our little jar looks like. So we're going to work on, or I'm going to work on getting our jar kind of put together. So my idea that this is the glass like behind. So now I'm going to add the eyeballs. And then there needs to be glass in front of that. So I don't know if it's really going to show up too much with the eyeballs because eyeballs are eyeballs. And so even if I painted a thin layer of icing over top of them, I don't think it's going to look any different. Same thing here. I could have flooded this with white and then put, done that, but it's okay. It's the thought that counts, right? I was just trying to make it look a little bit more realistic. You could definitely use a different color of icing in those areas. So instead of the dark purple, I could have used the lavender color and it would have at least given the effect of, oh, this is lighter back through here. It's all about like, sometimes it's all about what you're doing with it. This is a fun cookie to do this week. I've been a little bit more detailed this week with these cookies because these are some of my favorites. But sometimes I feel like I go a little too far. So this might be one of those times. So we're going to create the eyeballs and then I'm going to create the poison label for this one and we'll do a little stopper. So the eyeballs, I am going to work with detail glaze for the eyeballs, partly because this was done yesterday. So I want to make sure I have something that's hopefully going to withstand cratering. I honestly don't know if it will or not. I don't think it's going to matter. I think it's going to crater either way. It is still shiny. So far this week, all the cookies have been shiny and I haven't had any cratering. So I'm kind of hopeful that maybe that is helpful, but you just never know. Detail glaze doesn't go smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the bulk eyeball with detail glaze. I might put a little bit of glaze on top just to smooth it out a little bit. But then I want to put colors in the eyeballs, right? Because eyeballs are different colors. So I'm going to kind of build an eyeball right in the middle of the camera so you can't see. So I'm going to kind of build an eyeball. Let me see if I can shift this just a little bit. I don't know if that'll, I don't think that'll do it. All right. I was just trying to see if you could see the texture. Nope, not really. Okay, so it's a little textured, and I don't particularly like that. Plus, I want my eyeball to be maybe a little bit higher. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of regular glaze onto that, and that way too many tools today. Then that way I can it will look a little smoother, right? And then I can use any of the colors that I have for this set. So I'm gonna use what did I decide last night? I think I decided to do the iris or the pupil first and then do the iris. So I'm going to add in the actual pupil first, and then I'm going to use icing to go around that. I don't necessarily know if that's what you have to do. You could add in the color first and then drop the black on top of it. I just find this helps a little bit. This is the light green, so it's gonna be kind of hard to see on camera, but one eyeball done. We have another eyeball right kind of next to it. We have this one eyeball underneath, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that eyeball here. And I'm just gonna kind of let this one hang out for a little while. Go do maybe another eyeball. If you don't really care, this is a big eyeball. If you don't really care about the texture, you want your eyeballs to have texture, you don't necessarily have to put that little bit of regular glaze on top. It's totally up to you. So I'm gonna do an eyeball over here. We're gonna kind of go through and do some of these like little ones. And then that way they kind of have some time to set up a little bit. So these are all kind of background eyeballs. Just putting a little bit of regular glaze on them. That way they kind of have some time to set up. I can go work on the poison bottle while these are kind of just hanging out, crusting over a little bit. Um, if you wanted to use big nonpareils, you could, like the bigger, you could use sixlets also. You could use fondant, kind of like we did with the, kind of like I did with the skeleton. You could definitely press those into fondant molds and pull those out and make them, and then they would stand up. They would be really domed. You could paint your eyeballs on. So let's look at this one. The poison label is right kind of in the middle of our actual poison. I'm going to move it up just a little bit. I'm going to actually put it in this area here. And I'm going to do it with the light green. And I think I'm going to put, I think a purple border around it. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and make my icing work first. There we go. I'm just going to make like an oval. If you want to be more precise, you can definitely use your projector for this. I'm not too concerned. That's pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. This is just detail glaze. I'm just going to go ahead and use it, and I'll make it go flat. If you don't want to do that, you can definitely use just your regular glaze. It will go smooth, or just regular glaze. It will work a little bit faster. Okay, and then I'm going to take the dark purple, and I'm going to make like a ring around the. Okay. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Cynthia. Glad you guys could join me. A little early this morning. Oh, that was my tongue. Okay, I have a little something stuck in my icing, so we're going to work that out. Hopefully. I love it when you're icing. Even like I think we talked about this maybe yesterday. Like even though I put my icing with baggy clips, I still have icing done. There's like little tiny pieces that cross over. Super frustrating. Okay, just a little border, probably a little hard to see on camera, but just a little border to kind of give it something, little interest. And then I'm going to use that light purple. I use the light purple to do the little stopper in the top of this one. It's just a little cork. So if you wanted to, you could use, look at that, it's already cratering. I see it right there. Ooh, my stomach is growling, which is funny because I don't normally eat breakfast right now. All right, so got that in there. So if you hear my stomach growling, I apologize. It's apparently starving to death. So you could use some parchment paper to put on this little cork. If you wanted to texture it, you could. That would look really cute, but totally up to you. And yes, the eyeballs are already cratering, so that thought process of, oh, I used detail glazer will help. It did not. So yeah, you can wait till that dries, or I'm gonna wait until that dries to write the word poison on it. I'm just gonna use a marker. I find that the markers have been working quite well in this situation. Hopefully this one will work. I'm gonna write eyeballs on this one while I'm still letting those kind of set up. And I'm not gonna fit all of it, and it's not fitting all of it. So then we're gonna write some numbers. Okay. And you could do anything to the letters if you wanted to, kind of give them some lines just to kind of build some interest. Be cute. You could definitely write it smaller so that it would all fit on there. Totally up to you. If you're trying to solve the crater issue, a couple ways that I sometimes will try is you can take icing and like insert it into where those craters are. Um, you can just let them happen. So my favorite, Cynthia, are the Sinful Cutters markers. They look like this. They're dual-ended. I don't hardly ever use the brush, like the brush end. Just trying to see if I can show it. So I don't normally use that end, but her ends, these are absolutely fantastic. I have tried, I think, every other one on the market. Um, I don't think I have any in here with me, but um, the Tweets ones work real well. Um, I just found that after a while, they I don't know if it's the way that I hold the pen or whatever. I just find that they don't work some of the time, and you have to like roll it in your finger to find which way it will work. And sometimes that gets frustrating. So Sinful Cutters, their markers, I have not had that problem with. Every time, every time I start to write with it, it writes. So I really like that about markers. I don't use them a whole lot, but when I need it that small, I go to her. She does have other colors, so there's like other rainbow colors. Same thing, dual ended. It's got the tine, so you can use all the different colors. Um, she has the dual ended, so I do like that when you buy that, you're getting two different markers. So Sinful Cutters. All right, so I'm going to go in and add in. It's a really nice tip, and it is very helpful in a lot of these situations where I could get a piping bag out and and pipe that on there, but if I can use a marker and do it a little bit more cleanly, then I'll do it that way. Or sometimes you just want to save your hand. Let's be honest. Sometimes going in with a piping bag requires a lot of hand strength, and maybe you've been working your hand a lot, whatever. All right, so pupil first, and then I'm going to do an iris, and this time I'm going to do purple iris. So I'm just going to go basically around the pupil. If you really wanted to get fancy with these eyeballs after they're dry, again, using one of those markers, you could just go in and um, put veins in the eyeballs. I don't know if you pickle eyeballs, if you can eyeballs. I don't know if the veins stay in there. I don't really know. I don't know if this one's going to build on top. We'll see. Just kind of putting some eyeballs. Some of them have their actual parts. Some of them are turned around. So okay. This one's going to be the green. Here it is. Okay. So this one's going to be the pupil. And then we're going to take this and go around to create the iris. Okay. I do love making eyeballs. There's something fun about making eyeballs. I don't know what it is. I think it's fun. All right. And then one last one. This one's going to kind of be looking down. So we're going to kind of put that little bit of detail, a little bit of regular glaze just to smooth it out. And what is... Okay, so this one is looking down, so you can kind of see that right there. So I'm going to put the eyeball, the pupil, a little bit more down this way in my eye. Okay, and then I need to use the lavender, but I think the lavender is cut too big. So we're going to use not the lavender. I hope this one cut small. Oh yeah, this one's cut small. All right, so I'm going to use this little massive bag of icing. So that's got the lavender. It's looking down. It's just like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And you could definitely add in more eyeballs. I would, like, at this point, I would wait a little bit, and then you could add in some more if you want to, like down in this area, if you wanted to. I think it's probably in here right now. Just to kind of fill up that space. We're going to put a pupil on that one. And we're going to do light green for the iris. Okay. So just a little something just to fill up that space. But that is our, and with the cork, if you wanted to, if you didn't want to do the parchment paper, you can take like the back end of a paintbrush, and after it's crusted over a little bit, you can kind of take the paintbrush and just kind of push it into there. Obviously, this is still pretty wet, so it's not going to hold that. You have to wait a little while, like half an hour to an hour, and you can just go in and put some dents in it, and it will look like a cork. That's our little potion. So this is what I was talking about. Like, if I let this dry, all of it, and then I went back with some other thin down glaze, and I put it over top of all of this, other than the label, it might be a little bit more realistic. I think this is super cute as it is right here. I know exactly what it is. It's a bottle of eyeballs. It's going to be a bottle of poison. I don't necessarily know if I would change anything on it at this point. I like the texture. You guys can't really see the texture. I like the texture that the painting that icing on gave the bottle. It gave it this weird kind of grainy texture, maybe because the glaze. But I do like that. It kind of adds a little bit of interest to the cookie. So yeah, so that's her bottles of ingredients so that she can make her brew. I'll put the word poison on here. And then after that, it's pretty much done. Tomorrow we're going to work on the plant because every witch needs plants, of course. So we're going to work on that. So let's have a good Thursday. And I will see you all on tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning should be normal time. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Bye, guys.